Once there was a young girl named Lily who struggled with low self-esteem. She often compared herself to others and felt like she didn't measure up. She would shy away from challenges and opportunities, believing she wasn't good enough. One day, a wise old woman named Mrs. Jenkins noticed Lily's struggles and decided to help her see her worth. Part 1. Mrs. Jenkins invited Lily to her cozy cottage in the woods and sat her down by the fireplace. She gently asked Lily why she felt the way she did about herself. Lily hesitated at first, but as she opened up, tears welled up in her eyes. Mrs. Jenkins listened attentively, nodding understandingly. She then shared her own journey of self-discovery and how she overcame her own struggles with self-esteem. Part 2. Mrs. Jenkins encouraged Lily to see herself through a different lens, one that focused on her strengths and unique qualities. She gave Lily a journal and asked her to write down 3 things she liked about herself every day. At first, Lily found it difficult, but slowly she started to see a pattern emerging. She was kind, creative, and resilient. Part 3. As Lily continued to write in her journal, she noticed a shift happening within her. She began to stand a little taller, speak a little more confidently, and take on challenges with a newfound determination. Mrs. Jenkins would often remind Lily that self-esteem is not about being perfect, but about embracing who you are, flaws and all. Part 4. One day, Lily was faced with a daunting task at school, giving a presentation in front of her classmates. The old Lily would have cowered in fear, but the new Lily felt a surge of confidence within her. She stood up straight, took a deep breath, and began to speak. To her surprise, her classmates listened intently, applauding her at the end. 5. After the presentation, Lily felt a sense of pride wash over her. Mrs. Jenkins smiled warmly at her and said, "You see, my dear, self-esteem is not about being better than others, but about being the best version of yourself." Lily nodded, feeling grateful for the wisdom she had gained from Mrs. Jenkins. As time went on, Lily continued to nurture her self-esteem, celebrating her victories and learning from her setbacks. She realized that self-esteem was a journey, not a destination, and that it required patience, self-love, and acceptance. She embraced her uniqueness and found joy in being authentically herself. Part 7. Years later, Lily stood on a stage, giving a speech to a room full of people. She shared her story of self-discovery and the lessons she had learned along the way. As she looked out at the audience, she saw faces lighting up with inspiration and hope. She knew then that her journey was not just for herself, but for others who needed to hear that they too were worthy. Part 8. In conclusion, Lily's story teaches us that self-esteem is not about comparing ourselves to others or seeking validation from external sources. It is about recognizing our inherent worth, embracing our strengths and weaknesses, and learning to love ourselves unconditionally. Self-esteem is a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance, a journey that requires courage, perseverance, and faith in oneself. Lily's journey reminds us that we are all capable of overcoming our doubts and fears and stepping into our true potential. It is a reminder that we are enough, just as we are.